All right. Welcome back to the Geek Set Podcast, the only podcast that blend hip hop culture and geek culture together. I'm your boy Deuces in the building, and this is 101 with Deuces, the place where I speak with creators, curators, and people that you should know. And right now, man, if you are a fan of our podcast or watched any of our videos, you have heard me say this name multiple times. We finally got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Benny, aka Comicstorian. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, thanks. That intro makes me feel special. I don't feel that way.
on our platform, we do make sure we give people their flowers while they're here and they can still smell it. So I do want to let you know. That you have been a big influence on me, specifically on the podcast, and I kind of introduced my fellow podcast mates to it. So there's two ways I got into your podcast, into what you do, not just your podcast, but you as Comicstorian, just in general, like reading back comic books in a dramatic fashion, that was the natural draw, right? So
yes,
where I naturally, having these conversations with different creators and just people of the culture, when they say, I often hear, oh man, I want to get back into comic books, but I don't got the time to sit down and read. And, even on the app, I don't have that time. And in this world where everything's a podcast and everything's audio, I often tell people like, well, you know what? This is the channel you need to subscribe to. And I will physically take their phone and subscribe them to your channel.
Well, thank you.
I said, because like one, he reads back these comic books and he gives full details and he goes into it. But not only that, he does like the voice acting work. So because of that, it's not boring. So like even if you need it as background music, you get caught up into the storyline, and this is an easy way to get back into comic books because he'll do a whole series run or a whole book, and he'll start off here and it's like he got the playlist. So that you have been my recommendation on multiple podcasts on watch this channel.
I really appreciate that. The voice acting came actually just because I got bored of reading it straight faced.
Yeah,
that's how the whole channel started. I was just reading it all straight faced, and I just got really bored and just started pretending I can voice act. And then, of course, over the years of doing it, you kind of get like, I like to call myself below average. Like I'm not an actual voice actor, but I like to think that I could do it a little bit better than somebody right off the street.
Well, I mean, and that's what I wanted, because you must have took off the ones where you where you're just reading it, because I don't think I've ever watched one where it's just you just reading it.
It was pretty early on. It's like the earliest videos. We would do an entire event like Flashpoint in like 6 minutes. And it was the equivalent of reading the wiki. I'd throw in bits that weren't on the wiki and stuff like that. But I quickly kind of shifted over to kind of voice acting it and became larger and larger in scale. Then the videos got to like 15, 20 minutes. Once we saw we had something, we kind of shifted over. The early videos, we did like one a week. So there's not too many back in that era.
Right. Well, so kind of getting to your origin story, and so you started your channel in 2012 after I think were you getting out of the Army at that moment, or were you still enlisted at that time?
I was technically still enlisted. I was getting medical retirement, which almost kept me in the Army for a year, and I didn't do anything. Okay. I'd show up in the morning and they say, go home. And so we went home, and my wife and I were working on our YouTube channels back then. We were working on just a gaming channel because she didn't like because I had deployed twice, once to Iraq, once to Afghanistan. And she just didn't like the idea of me being gone for a year. And I'm the kind of guy that was like, hey, if it's a check, it's a check. I'll deploy again. So she was like, take the medical retirement. Let's find something that we can do that keeps you at the house a lot more. And that was where the gaming channel started. And then as I got out of the Army, I had that military mentality of I have to work nonstop. So I started the comic channel as a fun little project on the side just to keep me, I like this. I'll have fun with this. It'll be something I can do so I don't drive her crazy trying to work all day.
Right. So at what point where you was like, oh, okay, I actually got something here. Let me kind of now start trying to create this identity of this channel.
Early on, I was just doing it for fun. I wasn't even tracking any of the analytics for it. I was working on the gaming channel, throw up a fun comic book video, and I would like cross promote and, hey, I'm doing some comic book stuff over here. That would be the extent of it. It wasn't until we crossed the 100,000 marker and Marvel came in and basically copyright striked a bunch of Deadpool videos that I realized I had something, because like, oh, they're noticing me now. Like, what have I done? And my assumption at the time was that that's the end. I did it. I went as long as I could. Gray area didn't work anymore. It's over. But I was actually in an MCN that was owned by Disney. So they also had access to Marvel. So I got to talk to Marvel directly, and we came up with what the channel is now. no words on the panel, keep it down to about half panels or less, that kind of a thing. And they released it all and let me go forward.
Oh, yeah, you know, it's one of those, like I said, it's one of those happy accidents when you get like that strike, or when the industry noticed you on something. And you know, it's funny because like we recently, I want to say it was Marvel as well, like we had did a interview, or no, it was Universal Music at some point that we did, but we did this interview like 3 years ago, and then all of a sudden like this copyright string of emails started coming through, and I'm like, oh, okay, so our podcast it reached somebody. Somebody was like, wait a minute, what is this? Like, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I got the wrong attention. Crap.
But it's like, you're like, okay, so then obviously I'm doing something good where at least it's noticeable, to the point where they was like, okay, we gotta copyright it. But I'm glad that you were able to, because I often use your channel also as a catalyst of trying to kind of figure out our wave of what we can and can't do, because I'm like, okay, well, you know, that's one of the first thing I noticed is like, you don't have any words in the panels. So I was like, okay, so that's probably how he's able to do it. I don't think I noticed the half panel. So,
we don't traditionally give away full comics. I mean, I won't lie, the editors take it. Sometimes they go a little crazy trying to give away every panel.
yeah.
Because we got to the point where we have 3 editors on staff. There's a couple of writers that help me assemble what I'm going to do, things like that. So we've had a few bouts here and there with like DC, where they're like, did you really have to give away that much of DC's? But no one will give me that clear line that you're not supposed to cross. And it's funny because they like to use me as an example, but they don't attack anyone else from what I've seen. So like, I'm supposed to disseminate this information down.
But you know, one of the things, so this is how long I've been watching. I've been watching for, like, once I got introduced to your channel, I've been watching a whole lot. And I was in, like, anytime you drop a video, like, oh, gotta watch that, right? So I became into the Comicstorian verse, right?
Thank you.
But then, like, when Adpocalypse happened, and then that whole shift of everything that you had to do, which is one of the reasons why I definitely really wanted to talk to you, because we had launched our Patreon during the pandemic. But like, before that, we had a good 3 years of content that we just offered for free. So I had purchased the Patreon in like 2019, but one of the big things that I was wavering, I'm like, okay, how do I transition this to a paywall, you know, or what can we do into that, right? But like, I saw how I'm like, okay, Comicstorian, which in my eyes is this huge, you know, channel. I know that, you know, there's other channels that you aspire, or that you know, compete with in your mind, but like, from my standpoint, I'm like, okay, Comicstorian is this big, you know, this big platform, but he's also going through the Adpocalypse, trying to figure it out, and now he's trying to, you know, change over to that crowdsourcing and everything like that nature. During that time, like, I guess, what was your mindset at that time when you were trying to determine the Patreon route and everything like that?
Patreon's always been a weird one for me, because I've always felt weird directly asking money for what I do. It's just always been kind of a weird thing for me. So I never was able to figure out Patreon properly. The reason we officially decided to start doing Patreon is we'd gotten big enough where, like, if I were to shut down today, I can pay the mortgage off the residuals. That's that. Like, I'm not going to be living pretty, but my staff is what I cared about, because like, I can shut down today, I'll be okay. My staff won't be okay. And then I feel bad because I got guys that dropped out of college, even though I told them not to, guys who dropped out of like nice careers, even though I told them not to, because this channel and what we built was doing well. So I was like, I got to figure out some way to kind of create some form of income that will support the business, not Benny.
Right.
And so when we did Patreon, the best we've tried out different things. Every year I feel like we try something new with Patreon. And so this year we're doing the whole ad-free, and you get to pick on what videos are coming to the channel. Because after the most recent rigmarole on YouTube, I just decided I'm just going to make whatever I want. And if people want to watch it, cool. And if they don't want to watch it, cool. And if YouTube wants watch time, I'll just make long videos. Problem solved.
But that was also one of the things that I was like, oh man, you know what? Much respects to Benny, because when you was telling, like, you did a couple of videos where you were kind of just explaining the state of Comicstorian, and that was a constant that you were saying. You were saying, like, it's not necessarily just Benny, what I'm going to do. I have this staff that I created. And I think at that time, I think you only had like probably like 5 or 6 people, but it was still people that you were saying, like, this is like these people right now, because we're getting these monetization dings or whatever the case may be, and we're missing out on that revenue. I need to find a way to keep this going, you know, at this high level of quality that we have. And in order for me to do it, it takes this team. So I need to figure out a way to feed this team. And I thought that was so respectable, because it was saying, like, though you are the face of the channel, like, you didn't diminish everybody that put in the work with it as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing I've always tried to do. Like, when we first started making the team, I was more adamant of, like, I had one guy come in, he's like, "Oh, I'm helping you make this." I'm like, "I made this." But as the years have gone on, like, when I brought the team in at like 100,000, we just crossed 2.5 million. So from 100,000 to this, there's been a team that has made Comicstorian what it is, allows us to maintain daily videos, allows us to do double up videos, maintain like 5 different podcasts and side channels and Patrons. There's no way I could do all of it at this point. It's just impossible.
And, you know, and that's why I was like, it's, again, like with our podcast and what we're doing, there's 2 channels that I took direct influence from as far as trying to create our identity and build. Yours, and then during the time when Phil DeFranco had SourceFed Nerd, that was one of the ones, like, so I was like, yours, SourceFed Nerd, a little bit of Watch Mojo. It was like, okay, the content that they're putting out, I love the content that they're putting out. My goal was, I want to put out similar content, light content, but I want to be able to speak from it from my cultural aspect, you know, because I was saying, like, I would tell people, I was like, I love these channels because they give me the content. They give me the knowledge at a high level. Our podcast, like I said, we are very knowledgeable, but we don't lean too heavy on knowledge. We lean more on like the fun banter, the family, you know, this is my bro, this is my homie, you know, type of vibe. But I was like, but I get, you know, when we got to geek out, I know that your channels are the ones that help me geek out. So I was like, I want to be put into that space. I want to be able to be that cultural bridge of, you know, you know what? Yeah, we got Comicstorian on here, you know, because Comicstorian is of the culture. He is of that geek culture. He is top tier. And I want to talk with the top tier geek people as well.
Well, thank you. I mean, I know where you're coming from with the podcasting. That's why we started doing our podcasting, because I felt like the Comicstorian stuff it's great. We get the knowledge out there, but I don't get to have as much fun with it, like BS with my buddies and stuff. Yeah. And so that's where our podcasting came from. I'm like, all right, hey, editor, come here, writer, come here, producer, come here. We're all on the scene now. Let's go talk about stuff.
Well, and that's where it comes from. Because like when I thought about the podcast, I thought about barbershop talk. Now, one thing in the Black community, that's where all the shit talking happens. That's where all the band, you know, is the barbershop talk. But I said it's funny because when we talk about comic books, you would think that we talking about Biggie and Nas or Jordan and LeBron. Like it's that passionate when you talk when we're talking about comic books, anime, video games, things like that. And I said I want to bring that aspect to the world. I want to bring that, you know, how we talk to it. And so that's why I was like, yeah, the podcast is always that. But like I said, I do want to do those deep dives because I love those characters, like where it's like a character popped up in a Marvel show or a Marvel movie and everybody's like, who is that? And then the first channels I'm like, let me see if Benny did something on this person. And I watch it like, oh, boom, there we go. Like that, you know, I'm getting history. Then I'm like, all right, now let me see what Watch Mojo said about him. That like I go down my list of those character breakdowns, and it's just like, okay, now I got the knowledge of it, and now I got it. And it's funny because when we were watching Falcon and WandaVision, Comics Explained, and I think a couple of your videos. No matter of fact, the House of M storyline that you did, I was using that. So when we're talking about it, I'm like, well, this is probably going to happen. And they're like, do you know somebody in Marvel? I do my research. I got some good things that I pull from. So yeah, thank you for that because you helped me seem like I know everything about comics and stuff.
That was always the goal of the channel. I wanted people to be able to be like, I could at least pretend I've read comic books because I've watched all these comic storylines. Because watching it and getting the rundown of it's at the end of the day the same. You get the same basic knowledge.
Right.
You know, sure, you might get the more nuances if you go in and actually read the comic, and that's where like they get that next level up. But the goal of the channel was always to be able to have so that you could watch House of M and be like, all right, I know the basics. This is happening in WandaVision.
Right, exactly. So when you started, because it's first started off with you again reading comic book runs, at what point did you like start saying, okay, like I guess having like those type of segments of, all right, I'm going to do a comic character breakdown, and I'm going to do like when did you started adding structure to it outside of just reading some of your favorite comics?
I'd say over the years, because I just always looked for different ways to kind of push Comicstorian out there. Like we created the Know Your Universe thing, which we've got hundreds of videos on. We had to pretty much stop doing it because there's nothing left to really inform anyone on. And the stuff that there was to inform people on, it's like, all right, so there's a minute of information.
Right.
Like, like I'm not making a video on this, like this one character that showed up for 2 minutes. And that's why we ended up having to stop doing the overall breakdown history kind of stuff, just because we covered all the major beats. But as we've gone on, and I've always looked for different ways to kind of bring that back. We've revisited some of those character histories. Like, okay, well, now there's 5 more years of MCU to throw in. Let's throw that in there and redo this whole thing now. But yeah, I mean, the channel just over time has just evolved. I've tried different things. The complete stories and the podcast have always done the best. We've tried everything from versus discussions. We've tried the history character recaps. We've tried to go like we got more into individual comics because we just wanted to tell more and more of the story. It went from like Flashpoint. It's a 6-issue thing. And we did it in 6 minutes. And it was like, oh, on our redo of Flashpoint, it's like 25 minutes long because there's so much we didn't cover the first time because I was just trying to give you the basics. But what I discovered as we went on is more people wanted more than the basics. They wanted to know more than just the basic information. They wanted to have all that extra stuff to go in with.
And yeah, definitely. And I think that diversity of it, because it allows us to stay on your page a little bit longer. And I know that, again, you said that you started not focusing, but you started learning the algorithms, learning how to do it. Because I heard one of the podcasts where you was talking about that. You were talking about how old school YouTubers used to create so many different pages because of how the algorithm was. But like you broke it down to a science of saying, like, you know, how YouTube, they want, you know, they don't want you to kind of go too far out your identity. If you make long form content, then continue making long form content because, or, you know, I think you were saying at one point, like you had it where it's like every third video had to be this type of video. So that way you can find what and I was like, man,
I always try to find ways to, I love the algorithm. I actually do. Everyone likes to complain about it, but I love trying to figure it out because it's like someone gave me a puzzle and I just got to figure out the puzzle. So I've always kind of messed with it and toyed with it. Mm-hmm. And like right now, the state is everything has to be as close to the same as possible. And I don't know if it affects you the same way, but like, they're serving your videos to people who will watch all of them. They want people who will watch multiple ads in multiple videos. So like for my channel, the latest videos, they're getting lower views, but the people who are watching it are like the better viewers because they're watching all 35 minutes, every ad, everything we put into it. And for me, it's allowed me to have a lot more fun because I'm like, the algorithm looks bad, but is actually working good for once. Let's enjoy it until they break it again.
Right. So we do got a couple of fan questions that I'm going to be working with into this conversation that we have and everything like that. One of the questions that I did get, and it was just kind of like it came from my daughter for one. So like your content, kids love your content as well too. Just want to let you know.
I try to keep everything PG-13. Early on, I would swear and make it like, because I got out of the army, man. So it's like I got that mouth. But I got a few comments early on. I like to watch it with my family. I'm like, I should make it work for that. Like, because if someone's watching it with their kids, I don't want them to be like, what was that word?
Well, I also pick and choose which comics.
Yeah. And I hope people would. You're not going to put like the bloody Wolverine story up for your kids to watch. Like, I try to make it a little obvious, you know, like Red Hood and murders someone. This one isn't the family-friendly one, I don't think.
Oh man. But she did want to know your favorite comic. Now I know as a comic book, you know, enthusiast, that's always hard to kind of because you have your moment. So at the moment, what is your favorite comic at the moment?
The ones that I'm reading right now?
Yeah.
Probably I'd say X-Men. It's just so weird because I was so against X-Men. And they finally convinced me to jump on the current X-Men run. And now it's one of the few comics like weekly. I'm like, oh, it's an X-Men book. I got to read the X-Men book.
That's dope. So going back into some of the original questions that I had as well. So COVID obviously impacted everybody a lot, and like you seamlessly slowed down, but then in 2021 you kind of exploded with like 5 other new podcasts and everything.
I tried to retire. 2020 hit, and I was like, we're doing okay. And the plan was Dan was gonna, because my producer Dan does one of the videos a week, and the goal was gonna be that Dan and my brother Andy and one of our editors were going to like take control of Comicstorian. They would just hand me scripts.
Right.
So like my retirement was just going to be like, I'll just get up and record audios for 2 hours, and then I'll have the whole day. And you guys do everything else. You figure it out. You figure out what books we're doing. I don't care anymore. Right. And so, because I kind of hit like a wall of creativity where I just couldn't do anything. And what I realized is the wall that I was hitting was actually because I was draining my creativity trying to figure out Twitch. So I did all of like 2020. I just did Twitch, and like, I want to do Twitch. I'm enjoying Twitch, but I can't figure out Twitch. I want to figure it out, and I can't figure this out. So I was just getting drained trying to figure it out. So around November 2020, I decided I can't figure out Twitch. I'm happy with what I made, but it's not where I want it. So I'm just going to call it. I'm just going to say, hey, I'm done with this. And I officially quit. And it was like December. I'm like, oh, I want to make like so many more YouTube projects. Like, I got YouTube. I should do more YouTube. So what I've been doing for 2021 is, because every year my goal has always been create something new, whether it lives or dies or doesn't do well. Like, we had one channel, Tales of Earth, did great for about a year. And then it just kind of like went the way of, okay, it's not doing that well anymore. YouTube doesn't like conspiracies. We did Comicstorian. That lasted 3 years, and it had its own staff until it got copyright strike for Boruto. So it got pulled down, and we couldn't talk to the Japanese company. They wouldn't speak our language.
And I was just about to ask about that, because I was like, man, obviously a huge part of the geek community, comic books, mangas, anime. So when you did start that, I'm like, oh man, there's so many universes that he can talk here. So I was excited about it. Then I was like, wait, what happened? Like, what?
It was it was me and Kevin. We were running it. I was doing Attack on Titan and Berserk. I think I was doing one other one. And he was doing, he would do the audios for One Piece and Boruto. Right. And the company for Boruto, I think it was Boruto, but they came in and they just flagged 3 videos back to back and had the channel shut down in a week. Wow. And that's why people are like, why don't you do manga? I'm like, because at the end of the day, DC comes in, I can call someone.
Right. Somebody.
We got hit by WB and DC fixed it. It's like, I can call someone. But if, the companies that are over in Japan hit us, I have no contact. So with Comicstorian, it was like 2-3 years worth of work just out the window. And I had to let go of that staff. We've actually brought them all back now as a part of Comicstorian. But at the time, guys, your project got shut down. I can't do anything about it. I'm sorry. But like every year I've tried to make something new. So this year I was like, well, last year I was planning on light retiring. This year, let's do 3 things.
I don't think the culture is going to let you retire, man. Like, here's the thing, and when it breaks down to it, like there's certain people that are not on TV, but that are a part of it. I put you up there in whatever aspect that we have, where like the boss logics and like certain people that are just like synonymous within the culture. You are within that geek culture. Like, I can, like, you may stop the Comicstorian, but you're always going to be Comicstorian. It's always going to be like,
that's why I wasn't going to stop it. I was just going to let other people run it.
Because like I said, that's because one also, like, I wanted to ask, like, I mean, obviously, like I said you started doing the voices just as, you wanted to add some spice to it, but you are actually good at it. Like, so
thank you.
Has there any opportunity came for voice work?
Nothing official, because I don't have anything like a SAG card or like any of the actual like the union stuff or anything like that. I've looked into it here and there, and I've spoken with a lot of anime voice actors because I got invited to a few anime conventions. I was like, how do I get into it? It's a whole process, and it's just like writing my own comic book. The process to get into those industries would take away from Comicstorian and the stuff that I have fun creating on YouTube. Right. So it's like I can't really push that hard into it. And I live in Colorado, so I don't live in LA. Although if people need me in LA, I can be there. A flight from Colorado to LA normally runs about $80. Right. So it's like I can be there in a heartbeat, but they don't want to hear that. They want to hear that I'm in LA and I could be here in an hour.
Right.
So it was a whole thing of trying to like basically fake that I lived in LA for the longest time, because I did that to try and get gigs, and I would get the gigs, but the whole getting into the industry, then you got to get the union card and everything. It was like, this is so much work. And right now I get to do whatever I want. Right. Right now, I can go be Batman. I can go be my favorite anime. I can go be Wolverine. I can do whatever I want. And if I don't want to work today, I go play video games and no one's going to yell at me. So it was always that struggle of, and anytime I tried something new, like I did write a comic. I had the Valiant comic come out recently. That would take 2 weeks of Comicstorian having to shut down so I could focus on this other project properly.
Okay.
So it was always that thing. And as we got more staff, it became less of a feasibility for me to be like, all right, no one's getting paid for March because I want to go do voice acting.
Right. Well, I mean, you just got to train somebody else on your staff to like, hey, all right, I want you to get into your voice bag. So like start practicing your characters and everything. Cause I think that your staff, like, yeah, you have your animators, you have the people that kind of help to run. But as far as the voice talent outside of the people that you do the podcast with, it's like, yeah, I don't think that like there's any other like voice. You know,
we've attempted it before just because I wanted to do more videos. I mean, the more videos, the better the channel does. It's always the answer to everything. So I always wanted to do more videos, and I do tax my voice. Like I don't burn out mentally. I'm here, but eventually my voice just gives out, and it's like, okay, good thing we got a backlog because I need to go drink tea for 3 days.
I mean, because I just interviewed Deborah Wilson, and so talking with her about voice acting, like. Yeah, it is taxing on your voice, and like once that's your main thing, you do have to kind of like it's like a job. You got to breaks. You gotta make sure that you're taking care of that because that is the draw for it.
Yeah, right now I'm actually pushing it over this weekend because I got to go for the Corona second shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I might not be, but I'm assuming I'll be out for a week. So I got to prep all these extra audios so that no one knows I'm missing.
But I did want to ask just in general. So like when it comes down to voice acting, because you're doing so many runs and you got so many different characters now that you are doing, like how are you preparing for each character, or do you kind of just go off the fly and then?
It's more off the fly. I have got like I'd say 6 or 7 voices I go between, depending on what the characters are. Which normally works until it's something weird like 4 anti-heroes in the same thing. And now I'm like trying to do different variations of gruff, like, but normally it works out because I don't have like a whole repertoire of voices. I'm not trained classically, so I can only go in certain directions with it right now. But it works generally because it's like, okay, so Wolverine, Punisher, Batman, Red Hood, these guys they're going to sound very gruff, very low in tone. Okay. And then you got the Captain America, Superman. You got to be very proper. Everything has to be very enunciated, So it works out until like big crossovers.
But I mean, like, I think like for me, like I know like your Joker is iconic because I said like, man, I feel like Mark Hamill would be proud if he was to hear your Joker.
I've met other people before that I do their characters or their comics, and I get so nervous. Like I don't want to hear positive or negative. I don't want to hear any of it. I'm fine.
That's the one thing I like about Mark Hamill is that he'll straight shoot it. It's one of those things where he's so indulged into the culture that there's a good chance he probably ran across your page already. It was like. Right, like not one of those silence. Those okay.
Did I forget the clacker out there? I'm just gonna clap.
You have brought it to.
I know. I'm just gonna clap.
I'm mad because I was definitely expecting you to get it.
I mean, I could quickly go grab it.
Just clap. 1, 2, 3.
All right, man. Welcome back to the Geek Set Podcast, the only podcast that blend hip hop culture and geek culture together. I'm your boy Deuces in the building. With me, I got my man Liv.
What up? It's Liberace. It's the Puerto Rican Santa. The spiccato playing, beat making, motherfucking legendary ass Puerto Rican.
Sofrito Papi, and we back. As always, I got my man Bacardi in the building.
Randolph today.
Konnichiwa, bitches. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. I hate all of this so much. I hate all of it.
What's good, everybody? How we doing today? And we got Didge in the building.
What is happening, people? What's happening, people? What is happening, people? What is happening? happening, people?
He's out the booth.
But it's like I said, we are expanding. We are doing more. So they say make sure you go to youtube.com/geekset. Follow us on all social media at Geekset Podcast on every social media. And rating reviews in, man. We are rating reviewers on Facebook, rating reviewers on Apple iTunes, rating reviewers on Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever platform you're looking at. Give us some ratings, let us know. And then again, this is the only podcast that blend hip hop culture and geek culture together. We are out.
Peace.
Speaking of that, so I'm gonna be your anger translator or something like right now, real quick. So one of the things on the podcast that I heard, which is I understand, but I want you to know that like I got a different opinion for you.
Hey, everyone's allowed to have opinions. Whenever we do anything opinion, like very opinion based, I always try to specify that's my opinion. You're allowed to have a separate one. We don't have to fight.
No. So this is in your. I'm speaking for you to the public for this one.
Okay.
Because you said that while you do other gigs and stuff like that, you try not to lobby the Comicstorian name, specifically when you was talking about writing, because you was like, to the writers who put in the work and things like that, you using your name, like people are gonna be like, oh, well, maybe he only got it for his name. But yeah, I wanted to brag on you because I was saying in my head, and this is how I look at certain things. If you were not in the geek culture and you had a name and then you got an opportunity, I can understand that. But you have done the work for years. You have been established. It's no faking the funk with the content and things and how tapped in you are with this geek culture, to the point where if you were to get a writing, I truly believe that I don't think any writers would truly have an issue outside of if there was somebody who just kind of got that little hate in their blood, then maybe so. But for the most part, like if we see Comicstorian do something, it's not gonna be like, oh, you only got it because he's Comicstorian. It's gonna be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That actually makes 100% sense. And so I get where you're coming from, but I want to let you know I don't see it that way. And I want
well, I appreciate that. I try not to attach the Comicstorian name to too many things because I don't want things to, like the new channels that we're working on, the gaming channel that is like news gaming with my buddies, and then we have the TV show movie trailer channel. I didn't want them to be associated with Comicstorian because I wanted to see, can they grow on their own? Because what I've discovered over the years of doing this, whenever I would attach Comicstorian to something, it gets a nice initial burst of things. Right. And then the real fans of whatever that project is, they're the ones that stick around. Yeah. And then that's like low or high. Like I have the channel that was Eligible Monster and I renamed it to Comicstorian Gaming, and it almost has like 200,000 subs. None of those are real because people just came over to help me out, and it still gets like 5,000 views a video. Like that ratio doesn't add up at all. And so having that have happened, I don't want that to happen to other projects.
Okay.
And that's where a lot of times I don't like to attach the Comicstorian name to it. Yeah, I'm worried about somebody taking the idea like, oh, he's just using his name to get where he's at. But the secondary function is I don't want like, oh, Benny wrote Red Hood, so we're all going to go buy Red Hood #1. And then no one buys Red Hood #2 because they all got it because Comicstorian was on it.
Well, see, but it's the gift and the curse because what it is that's your hive. So you have your hive that you're able to mobilize, and that costs. That's like valuable. Like there's a couple of people, comedians that I rock with. This is a comedian by the name of Kev on Stage, and he created his hive called the Stage Crew. And this other comedian by the name of Tahir Moore, he created his hive called the Moore Mob. And pretty much what he does is anything that he's a part of, he does a call of action to them. So yes, he's going to have people that's just going to follow him or them wherever they're at on their channel. But then that grows, and what it is that you're building that community. So not only does you as Comicstorian or Benny or have that high, but now the community within it. So like one of the reasons I tried this live chat, I'm a part of some of those communities, and what happens is that people now they want to kind of get in on the inside joke. They want to get in on the community because we're in the chat, watching the thing, but we're also in the YouTube chat commenting. We have inside jokes with each other. People kind of feel it. So it's like now anybody who like, oh, I know Comicstorian, they just kind of watch in and they're watching the interview. They're looking at the chat. They're like, oh, what is this? Oh, I got to come in more. And now that's how you're seeing that high build. So it's like, I get like what you're saying. Like you don't want to, especially if you if you're only on the first episode or something, but then you're not having anything else to do with the rest of the channel. But like, I think that like mobilizing your hive, that is something that is like a lot of creators can't do. A lot of creators don't have that privilege of being able to say, well, I mean, yeah, you know, they came because of me. Because now you have a fan base that you can count on, that you can also, you know, to promoters and say like, okay, well, here's what I can guarantee. I can guarantee that my hive is going to follow me here and everything like that. So yeah, man, like I get what you're saying, but I do want to let you know, like don't sleep on your hive, man. You got some people.
Well, I'm not. I just like with the new channels, for example, I'm trying to test if they can float on their own before I do the promotion. Like we fully intend on doing the actual like, hey guys, I'm on these projects. We've been doing them for a couple of months. There's a whole community over there. Come and join the community. You know, that's how I'm trying that tactic with 2021 to see if I can make it the okay, like absolutely Marvel and DC. It's on its own. It's got its own fans. It's got its own stuff. Cool. Now, Comicstorian fans, if you wanted to know why you don't see me reviewing the Snyder Cut, I did. It's over here. Come check it out. You know.
And also, so this is kind of backtracking a little bit. When did you realize that your voice was as epic as it was? Because here's the thing: you have a voice that's recognizable without even seeing you. You built your voice on your channel for the most part without you being on camera. But it's like you have one of those voices that are easily recognizable at any given time.
Yeah, it's actually a problem at conventions. If we're trying to get somewhere, I'm not supposed to talk. They'll be like, we got to get across the floor. Don't say anything, Benny. We're going.
Have you caused? Because I feel like you would cause a ruckus at a convention.
I've never had like the mob situation happen unless it's like a planned signing, in which case I'm normally like, there's like a wall between me and like everyone. I have had like a line start forming up because I started talking randomly at a couple conventions. I would just be flipping through like back issues and I'd be talking to a buddy and people start wanting to get photos and signatures and it slowly starts to form. So we just kind of leave before it gets too bad. Like, all right, well, we got to go.
I can imagine you're on the floor, like actually a comic book shopping and you're talking to one of the retailers like, oh yeah, man, this happened when this, you turn around. There's this whole crowd just sitting there like,
yeah, we've had it a few, or like the fans that'll be standing there and they don't know where to place the voice, but they're like, I know you're somebody I listen to. That one I get a lot too. But no, actually it was back when I was 15. I realized that my voice was kind of like I could do things with it because I worked at GameStop back when it was Funko Land, and I would answer the phone. Thank you for calling GameStop. Here's where you can pre-order blah 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 blah. Come on by and do this, and everyone assumed I was an automated voice thing.
I was just about to say that. You sound like the automated, like the movie. Yeah. Like if you want to watch Batman, press it.
And every time someone would say it, like I got like a big head about it. So the next one would be like, thank you for calling GameStop. I'd like lean into it.
Now you got to do a string of just like fake videos. Have your animators do just like some automated like prank videos or something.
Yeah.
But no, so speaking of the work that you did, so your Bloodshot comic story that you like, just in general, like the inception of it and everything, that was a crazy story. You mind kind of retelling like how it was forgot about, then you brought it back up, and then they was like, oh yeah, and then let's try to push this.
Well, I mean, that's basically it. I wrote it back in 3-4 years ago now, because I brought up that I was interested in getting into writing. This is back when I was looking at doing voice acting or writing. I was trying to see what's the thing after YouTube I'm going to do. So I wanted to get into some of these other industries. And Valiant was like, well, if you want to test the waters, how about writing a backup so you can see what it's like, see if you enjoy it. And I had a blast with it. I took 2 weeks off of work. We sent it back and forth for the longest time. Then once we had the script down, we sent it to the artist. I went back and forth with the artist. And the whole process was great. I loved it. And then the book just disappeared. And it kind of gave me like that salty attitude of like, I know this can happen, but it's my first book. Right. I'm done. Like,
I ain't doing this no more.
Yeah, I just spent like weeks going back and forth about it's not even like I wrote it, they accepted it, and then it disappeared. Like I went back and forth with the editors and the people on the staff. This should have been out. So it vanished, and I was a little irritated by that. And a couple of years went by. Valiant got a new staff, and they reached out to me again. And they just wanted to talk about covering Valiant. And I said, yeah, I have no problems doing it. I just got to figure out how to do it because indie books never do well on the channel. And so we were talking back and forth, and I realized, because the biggest problem I have with the podcasting, Comics Experiment has been going on for so long. I have problems coming up with topics that we haven't done. Right. So I was trying to think of topics, and I'm like, oh, well, what if I talked about the time I wrote a comic? We could do that for one episode. If we ever need a filler episode, I just talk about that, and that'd be a great filler episode. So I hit up Valiant to make sure that there was no NDA or legal problem I'd run into discussing this. And they were surprised. They were like, wait, you wrote a comic for us? I'm like, yeah, I wrote it a few years ago. I won't talk bad about you. I explained the situation. Like, I was a little irritated, but I was like, I know that staff changed hands and everything. So no bad on you. I'll just talk about the overall experience. And they were like, well, hold on. Let us get back to you. And they waited like a month and a half. It was so irritating because I'm like, I just need a yes or a no.
Right.
I didn't even think that they were going to try to publish it. And that's what I got back. Well, how do you feel if we were to publish it? Would you be okay with that? No, I don't want you to publish the comic that I wrote. Like,
but you know what? I just imagine that moment, because when you wrote it, I mean, Comicstorian was building. So 3 years have passed. You're bigger now. So somebody probably said, hey, man, so we got this book that Comicstorian wrote that we didn't even do nothing with. Somebody was like, wait, what? Book with Comicstorian? Like, I just imagine that conversation. Like,
yeah,
wait, what? Like, all right, like he just want to talk about it. Like, hold up. Like, they probably had to like stop everything. Like, wait, hold on, let's figure this out. Like, what's going on? And then see, like, this is a completed thing that we did nothing with. Like,
it was colored and everything. I had all the emails and the prints, and I was going to show it. That's what I was asking permission to do. Show unpublished work from Valiant. I was like, just let me show the comic. No big deal.
But that's like, it's funny because it's like, man, I could have been a villain, but now like you guys wrote me back in because it's like, it left the salty, taste in your mouth. So it's like I mean, obviously, like you said, you wasn't going to bash them, but it was like, man, you could have went that route. Like, you could have went that route. Comicstorian versus them. Like, it could have been a whole thing.
Oh yeah, it definitely could have gone that route. And because I mean, I won't lie, I've done it, and many YouTubers do it. We do we'll just do what we want to do and take the punishment later. After it's gotten all the views and they get mad, then I'll take the punishment. No big deal.
Now, quick question, because I always ask as a creator, because we're trying to cross over to there where we can focus on just doing content, like our content, because we're established of also, artists, musicians, and everything like that, and the podcast and the YouTube page. So we kind of want to get we're now crowd sourcing as well. So it's trying to get to an aspect of, all right, we can finally quit our 9-to-5s and we can focus on just our content. When was that turnover for you? Like, I mean, obviously coming out the military, you were doing this as something that just like a hobby, but then at what point did it turn to a business where like you didn't have to work a regular 9-to-5 and you can do this?
Well, fortunately for me, because I'm actually medically retired from the Army because I have 2 broken ankles. They broke them twice. Yep. So like when I came out, I had a part-time job at GameStop, and my medical retirement VA money was enough to front. I had saved enough that when I got out, my wife and I bought our condo. Okay. So it was like, okay, we own the condo, we own the car, we just got to pay bills. Right. So I'd never had to work a 9-to-5 after the Army. Okay. I did some part-time work at GameStop. So because they wanted to, because I was a manager before the Army. So they brought me back to just make a little bit of side money, but that was like 3 nights a week. So it wasn't like I never had to work a traditional job and do Comicstorian. When I got out of the Army, I straight up did Comicstorian for like 12 hours a day. So like that whole first year, I just didn't have a life because we moved out of the military to Colorado. I had no friends, no hobbies. I had 2 broken ankles that the Army told me were going to get to the point where I couldn't do anything with them. So I just spent all day working on the channels. That was all I did. I
would love that so much, like to have that. I mean, I know it's tedious, but I would love to be able to have that focus on that. Because I think that that's where a lot of YouTubers and just in general content creators get to a point. It's like, okay, well, I still got bills and things like that, so I'm still working that 9-to-5. And you are those people who have those stories like, hey man, channel started doing good, but the money wasn't coming in, so I'm working at here. People like, hey, they stopping in my line and everything. Like I was interviewing King Vader. And when I was talking with him, he was saying that he was working at, I think he said a Taco Bell, and he was like, people would come in, take pictures with him and everything like that, to the point where he was like, all right, I kind of gotta stop now because I can't work here and try to focus on my job and people coming in trying to take pictures of me and everything. So it's like, but then that was a scary moment for him because he was saying like the channel wasn't making as much money as the views that you're seeing these views thinking that the money's coming in, and the money was not coming in like that. But it was like, I'm always interested in that change happen for certain people.
Well, I mean, when I got out of the Army, I had been doing it while in the Army for that so I worked in the Army from probably about the normal 9 to 5. We did like part-time stuff at the ending. And then I had that year where the Army pretty much paid me the normal income up until getting out. And I would go to the Army and kind of work until basically go home at 9, anywhere between 9 to 5, depending when they wanted me to go back.
Right.
Because when you're on medical retirement from the Army, the whole philosophy is you can't do anything, because the state you are when you start the medical retirement is the state you have to be in when you get out. And it takes like a year. So they didn't allow me to work out. They didn't allow me to do the job properly. Like, it was sit at the desk in the office. So I had that fortunate, like, the money's coming in and I was able to get the gaming channel to a point where that was a great part-time gig. Mm-hmm. So between that, the retirement money, and then getting a part-time gig at GameStop, we were pretty good. We were eating ramen noodles a couple nights a week. We were like rolling, but
hey, you know what? But the ramen noodles, that's synonymous with I am on my grind. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Everybody has that moment like, look, we had ramen noodles, maybe some Jack's pizzas that we throw, like, whatever the case, you have those moments where like you ain't spending the much. But
I mean, for the record, I love ramen noodles. I still eat ramen noodles frequently.
I said, no matter how much money I ever amass, I will not stop eating ramen noodles. It was like,
yeah, it's a good food, man.
Right. Like, you grow up on it and everything like that. So all right, so in this, we do also have 2 different segments that we're going to do. So I want to kind of get for you, when it comes down to now being in this content creator space and everything, top 5 creators that you either watch, draw inspiration from, that or even before that you were looking to kind of like, help you, get your start or get, where you're going. Top 5 influencers, and it could be within any realm. It could be.
I'd say early on, I took a lot of inspiration from, I don't know if you remember, like the old days, there was those gaming YouTubers, like almost like Angry Video Game Nerd, where they'd turn it into like a skit and try to tell the story of what happened in the game. And a lot of my early inspiration came out of that. And you can see that in the gaming channel. Mm-hmm. And then I was also a big fan of a lot of like the creepy lore channels. I watch a lot of those still to this day. One that I watch right now is a channel called Brew, where they just take like weird, bizarre mysteries and they explain how it all actually worked with unique animation. It's awesome. I love it. And I wish I had the creativity to do something like that. It's the kind of channel I watch now. And I'm like, I could do an edutainment channel. No, you can't. You cannot do that. Stop.
That's how you end up with 5 new podcasts in 2020.
Well, that came out of that. That was like, I you know what? All my buddies, they're making all these channels, and all the new channels that I started are based off the podcast channels, like new rock stars. They're doing great. Why don't I do something like that? Hey, I've got a bunch of friends that I play video games with every night who I chat about this stuff. Why don't I take my knowledge and their BSing ability and put it together?
Yeah, no. Any other channels?
I can tell you right now, it'll probably be all of my recommended. Yeah, because I watch a lot of YouTube. I go through phases where I don't watch any of it, and I catch up like on everything on Hulu and stuff like that. But then I go back into a phase of watching it. There's that esports channel. I've been watching them lately, where they tell the stories behind esports. The Score, I think, is what they're called. They're in there. I try to avoid watching Game Theory and Food Theory, but then I end up clicking one of their videos, and now there's 90 of them in here.
But see, that's one thing I do love about YouTube, is that it's, when you make a lot of content in general, and that's one of the things I try to encourage, like, people that are part of our collective, because right as of right now, I mean, we're not doing the biggest numbers. We're doing it with 1,000 views per episode on our interviews and everything. And I said, but we're making bingeable content. What I know, like when I'm looking at the comments, I got 2 buddies, so they kind of track the comments. But you'll see somebody comment on, let's say they'll comment on this one. Oh man, I love Comicstorian. And then, a few hours later, they're on like an older video. Oh man, I love this person. So I'm like, they're binging our content. They're going back and they're just watching and watching and watching. And I said, you fall into that rabbit hole. That's why I said, for us, like, level surface level, like trying to understand the algorithm. I'm like, well, first thing first, let's just get our playlist together. Okay, this is all the interviews. This is all the podcasts.
Yeah.
All of this, right? And then like second thing, like now let's work on our end cards just to make sure that when something ends, like the next video makes sense. And like it's something that's with it. Then
it's a constant struggle to do that stuff too. Cause like we'll go a couple months and I'm like, how did everything get out of order again? Like, all right. And like me and Dan, the producer, will just sit down and just start doing like links and playlists and clean them up. And it turns into a mess to do that kind of stuff. But you've got the secret to YouTube. That's a lot of people don't get that. It's the evergreen content. It's the content that someone can watch today or in 3 years. Comicstorian right now survives almost entirely on our backlog. Like our new videos do fine. We get plenty of views and revenue off of that stuff, but it's the backlog because I have, and I'll pull it up right now. It's like 3,000 videos on the channel at this point. Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
But see, what's funny, and was probably a blessing for your channel is anytime Marvel or DC does something new, you're like, yes, all right, we're going to get a bump on this.
Well, and that's the evergreen. Yeah, that's why it's so beautiful because they put out Falcon Winter Soldier, and 4 years ago I covered Sam Wilson as Captain America, and now that's doing well again.
Right. Did you wrap up the final episode?
Yeah, no, we were to watch it last night just to make sure we had it in case anyone hit me up because I always try to watch stuff like that fast because spoilers are everywhere.
Exactly. Same. So we just recorded our podcast yesterday that we're going to put out Tuesday, just to like our recap and everything of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. How did you like the series?
I liked it overall. I thought the series was really good. I felt the last episode was just kind of rushed. Like it goes from him opening the box on 5 and it's like, all right, cool. He's going to be in the suit finally. And then he shows up in 6 in it. And he's also jacked beyond belief. Like, what did you do in that montage, man?
Montage.
You're like huge.
The power of the montage, it enhances everything. But yeah, that was my same thing. I said we could have gotten 2 more episodes.
Easy. I feel like they took a break. They're like, we'll find the villains later. And then between episodes, they found the villains.
Well, there was a couple of things that it was like, wait a minute, that was kind of fast. Like Zemo, like just like his, like we got a good chunk of his, but it's like I wanted to see more Zemo in the mask. Like I wanted a little bit more of that. Walker's snap, like though it made sense in the storyline, I just feel like he snapped fast, and then he also got his like anti-hero-ness fast as well. And I was like, I just feel like we could have.
And then immediately he's a good guy again, running with Winter Soldier. Like what John Walker and Bucky aren't even like, by the way, last week I was kicking your ass. Like no one even brings this up. They're just like, yeah, let's go find Carly, you know?
Right. They're having a little moment. They're cracking jokes with each other. Like, what is going on? So
I wanted more Sam as Cap. Like they're like, he's here. He did the job, made the speech, show over. I'm like, there's so much more you could have done. Like
now that with the rumors of Captain 4 possibly happening, and then with the way they ended the end card of Falcon and Winter Soldier, changing it to Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Yep. So I'm assuming that's where we're going. Again, in this we always speculate, but I'm assuming Cap 4 is going to be focused on him as Captain America. I'm
hoping, and because they set up John Walker as U.S. agent officially. Yep. They set up Madame Hydra. She's out there. They set up the power broker as Carter. Like I hope the people watching live aren't. I'm not just spoiling this whole episode for them.
So, question, because obviously with the speculation and everything. Now, at the beginning, I was like, okay, that's kind of obvious for her to be power broker. So I was hoping like it would be like a different spin. Did you already like?
I was hoping it wouldn't be her because it was just too obvious.
Yeah.
Oh, the government blacklisted her and she didn't get a pardon. Yeah. Now she's mad. Like,
yeah.
Like you just see, it was such lazy, oh yeah, they gave it to Bucky, but no one else.
Right. Okay, so I thought it was just me, but I was like, I was hoping I was like, this is gonna be Mephisto all over again.
Yeah.
With WandaVision, everybody was just waiting for that other shoe to drop. And then when you watch, you're like, all right, this really wasn't that serious. But we was just so anticipating, like he's gonna pop up. Oh, that's him. Well, we know that's him.
It's the dog.
But that's what I love about the culture, man. It's just like when you get so in depth in knowing these stories and knowing it, like it's the spoiler is not necessarily the person. The spoiler is, I can't wait to see how they pull it off and everything. So like that speculation of it all the time is always like it's the gift and the curse. It's like you spend so many episodes saying, oh, it got to be this person and explaining why, only for it not to be that person. But then when you go back on it, you're like, okay, well, yeah, this wasn't supposed to be that, but it was like it gives that funness to it that where you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, I think the fandom is our own best friend and worst enemy. Because we all get to have that fun of guessing who Mephisto is. But then you have the other side of the fandom. When it ends and it wasn't Mephisto, they're like, "Oh, this was terrible." Like, no, guys, we did that. They never said it was Mephisto. That was us.
That was us.
They didn't even mention, "Oh, what the devil?" No, like nothing came up. Like,
what's funny is too, like, just like, I think it's was it Comicstorian? One of those channels that I watch where, like, so he leans into the hexagon, like with everybody, like, but he does it jokingly. So it's like, no matter what, every time, anywhere he does it, like he'll do like a breakdown of it. He'll be like, and then if you look in the background, what do you see? A hexagon. And it's like, it became this thing because it was like, yeah, but it's like, that's how you know that Marvel got us by the balls. Like, Marvel right now, no matter what they do, we're watching it with like, oh, that's a Fantastic Four reference. Yeah. Well, that's this reference. Like, we are so into just everything Marvel is doing right now, to that point where we think everything has a secondary and a third meaning.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the last top 5 that I want to do for you, what are the top 5 voices or just characters that you voiced that you was like, I like these ones?
Oh, that I get to do when I'm on the channel?
Yep.
Okay, Batman's always up there for me. I like doing Joker. Carnage, I always have fun with because Carnage, like, I like doing Venom, but Carnage is more fun because I try to make it sound crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so I always have fun with him. I always have fun whenever I get to do anyone that's like Superman or Captain America. I just always need to sound heroic in everything that I do. You know, like, I always have fun with that one. Is another, like, I have a blast doing. I do enjoy doing Rocket Raccoon, but I can never do it consistently. I try to give him like this Brooklyn accent, you know, but it's one of those things that, like, I can't just jump into. I have to like figure out some way to lead into it and then do it. I have the same problem doing Harley because I try to give it the same Brooklyn accent.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
You know, but I can't just do it, or I slip in and out of it. So I kind of ruin the accent, but I have fun when it works.
You know, one that I do like that you do that you didn't mention that I'm surprised. Your Rita Repulsa is good.
Oh, Rita! Yeah. I haven't done a Power Rangers in forever. We're gonna do more of it soon.
Oh man! But you know what? That legit was one of the playlists that I shared multiple times. So like the DC Metal and that, because I was like, yo, if you like Power Rangers, when I'm trying to introduce people to get back into Power Rangers, I said the comic run of Power Rangers is amazing. But I was like, but let me introduce you to this, and I've given them your playlist of it, because I'm like, this is really going to set the mood of it. And I'm like, it made me like love that Mighty Morphin Power Ranger all over again. I'm like,
oh same here.
Yeah.
Shadow Grid was incredible, man. Like, they knew exactly what they were doing to get that nostalgia beat going, update it for the modern day, and make Tommy evil. Like,
right. And I'm talking about that, like, not just like campy evil. They made him evil.
Like, oh, he was evil.
Yeah, he was evil.
They brought him back. I got to catch up on it, but I guess Draken's back now.
Really? Okay, I gotta catch up on it too.
Yeah, it's like issue 51 or 52. They're like, yeah, Draken returns, and I'm like, how? What did you do?
You know, comics in general, like, you know, they.
Oh yeah.
You know how that goes. Comic lore is like, anybody can come back, anybody can die, anybody can do this, you know, whatever the case may be. So like, that's where, like, you know, like, all right, well, I do want to see how they do it though, you know, because yeah, I'm with you. Like, I don't see how, but you know, they'll
I hope it's not lame. I got to read it. I did all the way up to 50 because that was the end of the Beyond the Grid, I think is what they called it. No, Beyond the Grid was like 30 to 50, 40, and then 40 to 50 was when you discovered that when the original 3 Power Rangers went off to do, you know, they got fired or they left the show or whatever. Comic tells you they didn't leave. They became different Rangers, spacefaring Rangers, and it was like, oh, okay, cool,
right. Like, that's just taking, like, okay, well, this is real. So how do we at least put some type of lore to it and everything like that?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. All right. So last thing, you know, we do is recommendations. It could be something that you're watching, something that you're reading, something that you're listening to, but something that you think that our listeners or viewers should check out.
So check out. The world's weird, man. Nothing's come out recently.
Well, it doesn't have to be anything brand new. It could be something that like either something that you're thinking like, oh, you know what, this hasn't been getting as much love as I think it should get. You guys should check this out.
I don't even know. Most of my nights right now, I'm just replaying the original Assassin's Creed series. That's all I'm doing.
I love the Assassin's Creed series so much, man.
I just sat down. I beat Valhalla, and I was like, I'm going to play it from the beginning to the end, and just see if any of it makes sense.
I think I stopped at Black Flag, and I want to catch back. I want to catch up. So Black Flag was the last one that I played, and so everything after then I'm kind of behind on. But for me, I always tell people there's 5 video game series that I'm going to always buy: the GTA series, the NBA series for me, Assassin's Creed, any of the Arkham series at that time, and I was like, I'm going to get, and then Call of Duty. Those are my 5 guaranteed series that I will always get. Obviously, there's other games that I do generally play, but those series, no matter what, they got me. I was
gonna ask you about Call of Duty, but no, I buy it every year, even if I don't like it. Like I don't like Cold War this year. I'm not taking that one at all.
there's with Call of Duty, like I said, my favorite sub of it is the Modern Warfare for me. Modern Warfare.
No, I like that one too.
But yeah, I've bought them all, and there's been some I'm like, all right, whatever.
You play it for like 2 weeks with your buddies, and then you're all like, yeah, this was not as good as the last one. Let's go.
So on your gaming channel, what games are y'all playing right now?
We got back into Fortnite because of Marvel. Marvel doomed me. Yeah. They had the whole Fortnite Marvel season, and I was like, oh, this is going to be funny. We're going to make a video of us playing Marvel Fortnite. And now we're like 7 months later, and I'm doing TikTok dances off of it. Like, God damn it, what'd you do to me? I was joking with buddies like a month ago. I'm like, we're doing TikTok dances. I'm like, guys, you realize we stopped doing this ironically, right? Like, we're just doing them now.
Right. We've become a parody of the people that we would crack jokes on. And
yeah, we are those people now. Like, I'm getting up singing Chicken Wing. Like, come on.
All right, man. So what's next for you, man? What are you guys working on over there?
Right now, we just decided to we tried out with the format. It was unintentional, but it was just, I got tired of everyone asking for the bonus stuff in Death Metal, King in Black, and Future State. So we tried a format where every week we're doing all the comics that came out the previous week that at least I found interesting. Okay. And now we're carrying that over to just doing general comics. Like we just covered like 7 different books. I'm just putting them into one giant video so I can clickbait it with Batman and everyone will watch all the other stuff. So that's pretty much what we're working on. Figuring out how to make that function properly.
I literally was just telling somebody, I said, what's funny in comic book fandom, there's 2 things that I've seen as the highest that are. One is that Batman with prep time. No matter what, if you bring that up, that's going to cause a good conversation. Somebody in one of the comic book groups I was in, they had it. It was like Batman seeing Godzilla, and it was like, how much prep time does Batman need for Godzilla? And it started this whole like back and forth, like, oh, what you talking about? Batman can't do this, Batman. I was like, so that's one. And then in the anime culture, Goku. If you
the Goku, okay. I'll ask you, Goku or Vegeta?
Well, I'm a Vegeta fan.
Okay, all right, that's the right answer.
Yeah, however, the way they write it, they always clip them at the knees because I'm like, Vegeta technically he should have been the one that killed Frieza in Resurrection F, but they had to do that whole reverse it and things like that. And I'm like, why? Like y'all could have just let Vegeta have this kill, not Goku.
What I like about Vegeta versus Goku, I like Goku. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, you like Goku. But Goku's been the same character since Dragon Ball. Like he hasn't changed ever. He's a terrible dad. Always he's threatening. He threatens to sacrifice everything for one good fight. Vegeta's gone from like evil prince to having a family to being a good dad. Like.
So we came up with this joke on the podcast. So you know they have like the toxic masculinity. I said Goku is toxic heroism because he's not a hero, but he saves the world due to his error of I just want to fight. So like, he's toxic because he creates the universe ending thing, and then he has to save the day solely because of him. Like the whole tournament of
the whole Dragon Ball Super tournament. That was all him. And even at the end, he still didn't even own up to it. He's like, yeah, I just want to fight. And it's like, dude, everyone's going to die because you want to fight.
Are you up on the manga?
Not on the manga, no. I finished off Super with Ultra Instinct. And I've kind of left it. I've really fallen off manga in the last year or two. I got to catch up on Attack on Titan, but apparently I'm not that far behind from what I've been told.
The manga on Super is finally doing our boy Vegeta good. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but
okay,
our boy Vegeta's getting some good love on there and everything like that. But like that's one of the things. Like if you say Goku will solo anything, just people just hate that. Like, oh yeah, Goku, and like it becomes this whole thing. Like people, like I've seen people. It's funny because people always talk about Dragon Ball Z fans are the worst. No, the people who are against Dragon Ball Z fans has overcame us now, because now we'll be minding our business, not doing anything. Somebody be like, "Oh yeah, but you know the Powerpuff Girls will kill Goku." Like, wait, why are you bringing Goku in this? Like,
why are you poking the bear?
Like we ain't even talking about nothing. And so like, they have overcome the Dragon Ball fandom. It's more you guys just trying to prove to us and for us to see your way that Goku is not as good as we think we is.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, where can my people find you, man?
Comicstorian. I mean, that's the easiest way. You just Google Comicstorian. I got the YouTube channel. They got Twitter. We got the Instagram. They all come up. It's all linked there.
This has been the One-on-One with Deuces, to get the only podcast that blend hip hop culture and geek culture together. I've been your boy Deuces. This has been the amazing, legendary Comicstorian, man, and I do appreciate y'all for tuning in.
You like that video? Man, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. We got so many more videos on our page, so make sure you check them out over here. Hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that way you can always be notified anytime we release a new video. You already know how Geek Set get down. We got so much coming for y'all, man. Check it out. Stay in tune.
There was a time where hip-hop culture and geek culture were at odds.